told you there's a single ancient principle that could completely reshape how you build your life? Today, we're going to dig into that very idea, a timeless philosophical blueprint for a life of integrity and purpose. It's all about laying a solid foundation for everything else you do. So, let me ask you something. Have you ever felt that disconnect? That nagging feeling that who you are on the inside doesn't quite match up with the person you want to be on the outside? Look, if you felt that, you are definitely not alone. It's a really common struggle, and it points to something much, much deeper. And that's the perfect lead-in to our first section here, a crack in the foundation. We're going to explore what actually happens when we try to build a life without that solid personal groundwork. When there's that gap, it creates this huge internal conflict. It's that feeling of inauthenticity, right? The space between the person you show the world and who you really are deep down. And it feels unsteady because, well, it is. And this misalignment, it has some pretty serious consequences. It can make you feel like a fraud. It can strain your relationships because people can't count on your consistency. Your work might feel empty or meaningless. And if it's left unchecked, it can lead to what some have called a life of quiet desperation, always feeling like you're searching for something but never really finding it. Okay, so that's the problem. How do we start to fix it? Let's switch gears and look at this through a really powerful metaphor. Thinking of your life as a temple, a magnificent structure that needs care and, most importantly, a solid foundation if it's going to last. And I want you to think of it this way. Every single one of us, we start out as a rough, uncut stone. We're just raw material, absolutely full of potential, but we haven't been shaped or refined yet. It's a really powerful image of what we could become. And this is the goal. This is what we're aiming for. The journey of self-refinement is all about transforming that raw potential into a perfect building block, something strong, true, and precisely formed, ready to take its place in the temple of your life's purpose. This brings us right to the heart of the solution from our source, the cornerstone principle. Now, this is a concept rooted in Masonic philosophy, and it's all about how you lay that first, most crucial stone for building a strong moral and spiritual life. The key idea here is called the northeast corner. It represents that very first intentional act of laying a firm foundation for your character. Symbolically, the northeast is this place between darkness and emerging light. I mean, what a perfect spot to begin a new intentional structure, right? It becomes the reference point that everything else is built from, making sure the entire building is true and upright. So this principle, it really boils down to 3 core tenets. First, and this is huge, you are the cornerstone. Your thoughts, your words, your actions, that's the material you're building with. Second, you have to align with virtue, which just means consistently choosing your principles over your passing whims or passions. And third, you have to embrace that this is a lifelong journey. The work of self-refinement, it's never really finished. Okay, so that's the philosophy, the what. But what about the how? I mean, philosophy is great, but how do we actually do this stuff in our day-to-day lives? Let's get practical and look at a blueprint for action. The source lays out a really simple 3-step guide that anyone can follow. It starts with daily reflection, just taking some quiet time to ask yourself, hey, were my actions today aligned with my highest ideals? Next, you choose just 1 or 2 specific virtues to focus on, something concrete like honesty or compassion. And then finally, you build habits around them by looking for small, everyday chances to put them into practice. And we're not talking about huge, life-altering gestures here. It's the small stuff. If your goal is patience, it could be as simple as taking a few deep breaths before you react to something frustrating. If it's generosity, maybe it's just 1 small, non-monetary act of kindness for someone. It's these consistent, small actions that over time build that incredibly strong foundation. Now let's be real for a second. This journey, it is not a walk in the park. There are going to be obstacles. So let's talk about some of the common pitfalls you might run into and how to navigate them. One of the biggest traps we can fall into is compartmentalization. Being one person in public and a totally different person in private. Especially today, with curated social media profiles, the pressure is immense. But real character isn't about the image you project when people are watching. The goal is to be consistent all the way through, in your thoughts, your words, and your action. And here's another big one, the comparison trap. The source makes this brilliant distinction. Unhealthy comparison is when you measure yourself against everybody else. Healthy comparison, that's when you measure yourself against who you were yesterday. That's it. The only competition that truly matters is with your former self. And this is maybe the most important thing to remember through all of this. You are going to have setbacks. Old habits are going to creep back in. But in those moments, please, please remember this. Perfection isn't the goal, progress is. Every single step forward, no matter how small it feels, is a win. So as we start to bring this all together, let's look at the incredible payoff for all this work. You literally become the architect of your own destiny, and you get to see the amazing ripple effect of living a principled life. See, the impact doesn't just stop with you. When you focus on your own self-mastery and integrity, you become a steady, reliable presence for other people. Your relationships get deeper. You become a force for positive change. And it's amazing to think that just one life, built on a solid foundation, can inspire and uplift an entire community. And we'll end with this powerful thought from our source. You hold the tools. With every thought, every word, and every action, you are sculpting yourself, shaping that inner temple into a masterpiece. So the final question is, what kind of temple will you choose to build?